They rode Peter Obi's wave in 2023. They won their seats on the back of millions of young Nigerians who believed in something bigger than politics as usual. And then, the moment they got comfortable in Abuja, they crossed to APC. They collected their reward and they forgot your name. Now, Peter Obi has moved to the NDC. And guess what? They are back, knocking, smiling, calling themselves loyal members of the movement. There is one question for the NDC leadership tonight. Are you going to let them in? Because if you do, understand exactly what you are doing. You are not just welcoming politicians, you are opening the gates of everything Peter Obi built to the very people who burned it down. For years, the patterns of Nigerian political behavior have been studied. The calculations, the betrayals, and the rare moments of genuine conviction. What is unfolding inside the NDC right now is one of the most critical tests of whether this movement survives or becomes just another vessel for the same political class it was built to replace. This is not about bashing individuals for sport. This is about the structural danger of allowing political opportunists, especially former APC defectors, to colonize the NDC before it even gets to 2027. Before going any further, a direct word to you, the viewer. What you are about to watch is not a casual political take. The defections have been tracked, the statements have been read, the timelines have been checked, the voting records cross-referenced, and the public declarations of every politician involved have been studied, because the truth of this moment deserves more than a 2-minute headline. The young Nigerians who carried the obedient movement on their backs in 2023 deserve a voice that will tell them the truth even when that truth is uncomfortable. If this kind of work matters to you, subscribe right now, not later. Every subscriber sends a message. Keep going. This movement is watching. Do it for the work.
To understand the danger of today, you have to understand the miracle of 2023. For the first time in the history of Nigerian presidential elections, millions of ordinary citizens, especially young people, funded, canvassed, organized, and voted for a candidate based on principle, not patronage. That had never happened before, not in 1999, not in 2011, not in 2015. Peter Obi did not just run for president, he became a symbol. And on the back of that symbol, a class of politicians who could not have won on their own names won. They wore the LB badge and rode the obedience tsunami straight into the National Assembly. Then the tide went out. Obi left the Labour Party for the ADC in December 2025, citing worsening internal conflicts, external interference, and rising hostility. By May 2026, he and former Kano Governor Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso formally joined the National Democratic Congress, the NDC, following weeks of speculation over their political direction ahead of 2027. Now, the legal framework. Under Section 68(1)(g) of the 1999 Constitution, a member of the National Assembly who defects from the party on whose platform they were elected may lose their seat unless there is a division in that party or a merger. The courts have interpreted this narrowly. The Electoral Act 2022 does not close this loophole, and so the revolving door keeps spinning. Here is the specific heat that demands attention. Valentine Obienyem, the special advisor to Peter Obi on media and publicity, published an opinion piece titled "Why Political Opportunists Must Not Be Allowed to Run Again." In it, he argued that politicians who benefited from Peter Obi's political popularity in 2023 before defecting to other parties should not be allowed back into the NDC ahead of 2027. This is Obi's own spokesman, his own media aide, putting this on the record, and he is right. According to Obienyem, some politicians secured elective positions during the Peter Obi wave of 2022 despite having little independent electoral prospects, only to abandon the movement shortly after assuming office. A number of them went straight to the APC. They sat with Tinubu's people. They voted with the ruling party on crucial bills. They were, for all practical purposes, APC legislators wearing borrowed identities. Now, The NDC is attracting momentum again. The party's rapid rise has unsettled both the ruling camp and rival opposition blocs, reopening debate over whether Nigeria's opposition can finally unite strongly enough to mount a serious challenge to President Bola Tinubu in 2027. And the moment the NDC began gaining traction, the very same politicians who fled are sniffing around again. Consider the case of Honorable Joshua Chinedu Obika, representing AMAC Buhari Federal Constituency in the FCT. He won under the LB party in 2023, he defected to the APC on the 11th of March 2026 and then resigned from the APC to join the NDC in May 2026. Another, Honorable Manuchim Umezuruke, representing Port Harcourt 1st Federal Constituency in Rivers State, elected on the LB platform, moved to the APC in December 2025, briefly joined the ADC in April 2026, and settled in the NDC in May 2026. Let that be translated into plain language. This man has been in 3 parties in 6 months. 6 months, and he wants to contest under Peter Obi's platform. There is a narrative being pushed in some political circles that numbers matter more than loyalty, that the NDC needs bodies, needs legislators, needs to grow. Yes, but at what cost? What happens when you build your house with rotten timber? You do not get a bigger house, you get a house that collapses faster.
The law matters here, and so does party structure. Let us be precise. Section 221 of the 1999 Constitution states that no association other than a political party shall canvass for votes or contribute to the funds of any candidate. What this means is that the party platform is sacred. It is the legal vessel through which a candidate accesses electoral legitimacy. When a politician uses your party platform to win and then abandons it, they are not just betraying you politically, they are exploiting a legal instrument that was built by the movement. The Electoral Act 2022, Section 84, sets out conditions for party primaries. It requires that aspirants be bona fide members of the party. This is where the NDC has both a legal and a strategic opportunity. It can and must enshrine loyalty criteria within its own party constitution. It can require a minimum period of membership before a candidate qualifies for a ticket. Other serious parties have done this. Obienyem's warning was not merely moral, it was structural. A party that rewards betrayal with tickets will hemorrhage its most loyal members, the people who stayed, organized, and sacrificed when there was nothing to gain. That is the base the NDC cannot afford to lose. Look at how deep this analysis has already gone. Names have been named, laws have been cited, the exact movements of specific legislators who used this movement and threw it away have been traced. Ask yourself, where else are you getting this level of breakdown? Not on the morning shows, not in the WhatsApp forwards. Subscribe if you have not, then drop a comment. Tell us, should NDC forgive and move on, or should they draw a hard line on these returnees? Because what comes next goes even deeper. Do not scroll past. Now for what nobody is saying out loud. Some of the APC politicians gravitating toward the NDC are not coming because they believe in Peter Obi's vision. They are coming because they have been told to come. The APC has a long and documented history of planting destabilizing elements inside opposition structures. Obi himself pointed to a pattern of internal division, legal disputes, and what he described as the infiltration of destabilizing forces, similar to challenges he previously encountered in the Labour Party, as the reason he had to leave both the LP and later the ADC.
The ADC accused the ruling APC of sabotaging the opposition, a claim the presidency dismissed, but the pattern keeps repeating. Court cases, leadership disputes, internal factions. Every time the opposition builds something viable, it gets cracked from within. If the NDC opens its doors to known APC operatives, men and women who sat in the National Assembly voting with Tinubu's government, they are not just accepting warm bodies, they may be accepting Trojan horses. And the 2027 campaign has not even started yet. The 2027 implication is enormous. Party officials have intensified efforts to attract defectors from the ADC, Labour Party, NNPP, and disenchanted factions within the PDP, arguing that the opposition can only become competitive through broad cooperation. That argument is not wrong, but cooperation must be built on minimum standards of accountability, not unconditional amnesty. This is not a Nigerian problem alone. In Kenya, in 2017, when Raila Odinga built his NASA coalition to challenge Uhuru Kenyatta, he faced the same dilemma. Politicians who had served in or alongside Kenyatta's Jubilee Party suddenly wanted in. Some were genuine converts, others were not. The coalition could not always tell the difference, and that ambiguity contributed to internal fractures that damaged their campaign. In Ghana, the National Democratic Congress has repeatedly struggled with carpetbaggers who arrive during election season and disappear after. The party's core activists have long demanded formal screening mechanisms to distinguish committed members from opportunistic recruits. The lesson from across the continent is consistent. Movements built on charismatic leaders and popular legitimacy are uniquely vulnerable to infiltration by the political class they were designed to replace. The answer is not isolation. The answer is standards. 3 scenarios for how this plays out. Scenario 1. The NDC draws a hard line. It adopts formal loyalty criteria, minimum membership period, a public declaration renouncing previous APC affiliation, and review by a screening committee. Probability, approximately 35%. The risk is that some useful figures get excluded. The reward is that the party protects its ideological soul. Scenario 2. The NDC accepts everyone who comes, but fragments. This is the most likely outcome, around 50% probability. The party gains legislative numbers, but loses coherence. The APC returnees begin pulling in different directions during primary season. Court cases emerge. Sound familiar? It should. It is exactly what happened to the LP and the ADC. Scenario 3. The NDC finds a middle path, conditional reintegration. Returnees are accepted but placed on probation. No automatic ticket access, mandatory public explanation, community review by movement stakeholders. Probability, around 15%. It requires mature institutional thinking that Nigerian parties have rarely demonstrated. But if any platform can do it, this one, with Obi's credibility at the center, has the best chance.
Here's where this analysis lands. No fence, no hedging. The NDC must reject any politician who rode the 2023 wave, defected to the APC for personal benefit, and is now returning simply because the NDC has momentum again. Not because people cannot change, but because the pattern here is not repentance, it is calculation. And a movement that cannot tell the difference between a convert and a predator will be consumed by its own generosity. As Obienyem correctly stated, this behavior suggests a tendency to treat Obi as a mere political instrument, useful when advantageous and discarded when convenient. That is not a principled way to follow a leader. The obedient movement was never just about one election. It was a proposition that Nigeria can be governed differently. If the NDC lets that proposition be hijacked by the same class of politicians who have been recycling power for 30 years, then the movement is dead, and it will have killed itself. A river does not go back to where it came from, and a movement that absorbs its destroyers has already surrendered. You just sat through a serious piece of analysis, not gossip, not noise, a forensic breakdown of one of the most consequential decisions the NDC will make before 2027. This video did not make itself. It came from hours of research, source-checking, legal cross-referencing, and a refusal to give you anything less than the truth. If this moved you, if you felt the weight of what is at stake, then share this video with one person, just one, because this work survives on word of mouth. Subscribe if you have not already. It costs you nothing, it means everything. Stay close, the next deep dive is coming, and you do not want to miss it. This is not just a channel, this is a movement, and it only exists because you choose to be part of it.